Bismillah wa salam. Live on YouTube, and the conference has started. It's a great honor to have again our Shaykh Suhaib Hasan, who have been studying many books with him over the years. Sahih Bukhari, Muqaddamah ibn Salah, Imtalul of his teacher, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Sheba Hamdallah. Alhamdulillah, Shaykh Suhaib Hasan, he's free of introduction. MashaAllah, everyone knows his and his family of great scholar. His father, Shaykh Abdul Ghaffar Hasan, who taught in Medina University. And likewise, all the scholars of his family. So the Shaykh Suhaib Hasan, without any further ado, he will speak from 4 to 5 regarding Shaykh Dawood Ghaznavi, who was the leader of the Al-Hadith Jamaat in Pakistan. And after, from 4 to 5, Shaykh Walid Basuni from America will speak about his teacher, Shaykh Abdul Razak Afifi. So Shaykh Walid Basuni, Shaykh Suhaib Hasan, they're both members of Amjad, the Majlis Fuqaha of America, and both of them are students of Shaykh Ibn Baz. So without any further ado, inshallah, we will ask Shaykh Suhaib Hasan to start his talk.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير. All our brothers, sisters who are listening to this talk, that is about a great scholar, a great politician, a great student of knowledge. That was Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, the son of Maulana Abdul Jabbar Ghaznavi, the son of Maulana Abdullah Ghaznavi, of course of Ghazni from Afghanistan. I am going to speak about Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, and this topic which I have chosen to speak about, there is a good reason for that as well. When I went to Al-Madinah to study in the Islamic University in 1962, I was among the 18 students who were taken from Pakistan or who were chosen from Pakistan to study in Al-Madinah. At that time, I did not know how my name was also included among these fortunate 18. Later, my father, Shaykh Abdul Ghaffar Hasan, told me that when the Islamic University was founded, that was in May 1962, among the advisory committee of the Islamic University was Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi as well from Pakistan. And after attending the inaugural ceremony of the Islamic University of Medina, and after performing his Hajj, he came back. And then when they were trying to find out the students who got their intention to join Islamic University of Medina, my father suggested my name as well to him. And this is how straight away my name was taken by Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, and I became among these 18 fortunate students. I have not seen him in my life because just 3 months later in July, we have to travel to Al-Madinah. And then I remained there for 4 years. Of course, I used to come in our annual vacation to Pakistan, but I was not fortunate enough to see him by myself. But I have seen his son, Dr. Abu Bakr Ghaznavi, Shaykh Abu Bakr Ghaznavi, when I came here in 1976 coming from Nairobi, East Africa, to attend an Islamic International Conference in London. And what happened that we got the news that Sayyid Abu Bakr Ghaznavi was crossing the road in London when he was hit by a car, and then he was admitted to the hospital. So I, with one of my friends, we went to see him in the hospital. So I can say that if I have not seen Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, at least I have visited his son Abu Bakr Ghaznavi. Very sadly, that was the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Abu Bakr Ghaznavi did not survive, and he passed away after a few days. And then he was taken, his body was taken back to Pakistan, where he was buried very near to the grave of his father. So that was, in the beginning, I wanted to say these few words. Of course, I have studied a lot about this family, and this is how I came to know many shining issues, aspects of this family. We can start with the grandfather of Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, and that was Abdullah Ghaznavi, who was born in Ghazna in Afghanistan in 1811. His name was Muhammad Azam, but later he realized in his life that Muhammad Azam, the greatest one, he said that it is only suitable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he changed that name to Abdullah. Among his studies, he went to Kandahar, where he met Shaykh Habibullah al-Kandhari. And he was one of his great teachers who brought him very near to Kitab and Sunnah. And Shaykh Habibullah himself was impressed by Sayyid Ahmad Shahid and Sayyid Ismail Shahid. When both of them, they came to Afghanistan through Kandahar, and he did give the oath of allegiance, bai'ah, to both shuyukh. So we can say that Maulana or Shaykh Abdullah Ghaznavi or Sayyid Abdullah Ghaznavi, he has taken that love for Quran and Sunnah and the love for jihad after meeting Shaykh Habibullah. And it is also reported that Abdullah Ghaznavi has seen a dream, a vision, in which he has seen Sahih al-Bukhari with dust upon it. And he has seen himself cleaning that dust from Sahih al-Bukhari. That was his dream. And the interpretation, of course, it was that he is going to publicize the teachings contained in Sahih al-Bukhari. He was, and he started his movement, which is about Quran and Sunnah, and he remained in Afghanistan for quite a lot. And then what happened that he got the opportunity to go to Delhi and study under the great scholar of India, Maulana Nazir Hussain ad-Dehlavi. And he studied under him in Delhi in his madrasa. Even Maulana Nazir Hussain ad-Dehlavi used to say that two students by the name of Abdullah came to me, Abdullah Ghaznavi and Abdullah Ghazi Puri. And he was very praiseworthy of Shaykh Abdullah Ghaznavi, especially about his prayer, that how beautifully he used to pray. So in 1857, he was there during the time when some Muslim forces, and that was the last days of Mughal Empire, they have tried to get liberation from the East India Company's rule, or you can say the English rule at that time. So this is known in Indian history as the movement for the liberation of India. And in English history, it is known as mutiny. And in Urdu, it is called Ghadr. So because of those events at that time, he has to come back to Afghanistan. So when he came to Afghanistan, the trial began, means that his movement to go back to Kitab and Sunnah was opposed by the local scholars, and they were so much against him that not only the first ruler, who was Dost Muhammad Khan, who asked him to leave Afghanistan, but even his son Sher Ali Khan, he also asked him to leave, and he has to take shelter in some of the caves in the mountains. And after his rule came to an end, his successor Muhammad Afdal Khan imprisoned him, and then he sought a fatwa from the local ulama about him, and they agreed to issue a fatwa by which they say that this person has come out of the teaching of Islam, so he should be killed. But one of those ulama who was dead against him, Mullah Mashki, he did not sign that fatwa. So this is why he escaped the death. But they wanted to disgrace him by shaving the hairs of his head and his beard, and then he was imprisoned, where he remained for 2 years with 3 of his sons. His successor was Amir Azam Khan. Just look at this coincidence that Sayyid Abdullah Ghaznavi changed his name from Azam Khan to Abdullah. Now this Amir Azam Khan, he expelled him to Peshawar, or at that time, of course, that was under the British rule. So he has to come back and migrate to India at that time. And from Peshawar, he kept on traveling until he came to Punjab, and he stayed in Amritsar, which was right in the heart of Punjab, very near to Lahore, where he remained till 1879, when he died in Amritsar and buried there. He left behind him 12 sons and 15 daughters, altogether 27 children. Abdullah Ghaznavi got so many good things about which we can talk, but because this speech is mainly about Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, so I just mention one thing, that he was among those people who are known to be Mustajabud Da'awat. Mustajabud Da'awat, that their dua is accepted. So he was Mustajabud Da'awat, and it is reported that one of the great personalities in India, Abdul Ghaffar Qusuri, his paternal uncle, Ghulam Qadir, used to complain a lot about headache. So his father took him to Shaykh Abdullah Al-Ghaznavi and asked for dua. Ghulam Qadir said that because of this headache, sometime my Jama'at, prayer with congregation, is missed. So Abdullah Ghaznavi prayed for him, and his prayer was accepted in such a way that Ghulam Qadir survived 45 years after that, and he never complained this headache again, and he never missed his Jamaat prayer. Now we come to his son, that was Abdul Jabbar Ghaznavi, who was also born in 1849 in Ghazni. And of course, he came with his father to Amritsar, where he accompanied him, where he studied as well. And he was also among Mustajabud Da'awat people, and his dua was also accepted. And there are a number of issues of this nature. I may just say one of these incidents that was about an ordinary person who came from Madras. His name was Ismail, and he was serving two of his masters, you can say. They were two merchants, and he was serving them. So when they were in Amritsar, this person, Ismail, used to come to the mosque of Maulana Abdullah Ghaznavi. Now it was run by his son Abdul Jabbar Ghaznavi, and used to pray behind him because he loved to pray according to Kitab and Sunnah. And one day, Abdul Jabbar Ghaznavi asked him who you are and what is your job here. So he told him that I come here with my two employers, two merchants from Madras, and I'm working for them. At that time, Abdul Jabbar Ghaznavi prayed for him, for his better future, a good future. The same day when he came back to, these two great or very wealthy merchants, they told him that we have seen you for quite a long time. You are serving us. And now we have decided that you would no more be a servant to us. You are going to be a partner to us. And we have allocated a good amount of sum in your share. And you will not be given that share now, but it would be deposited in the business itself. And you will receive just the profit which you will have from your share. So in this way, this person, Ismail, when he came back to Madras, he was no more a laborer. He became a rich person like them. And this is how he got the title of Kaka Ismail, because the word Kaka Ismail is used for the wealthy people there in Madras. And this was the person who established a great Darul Uloom in his area. And this Darul Uloom has produced a great number of scholars, and it is very famous in Madras. So that was Sayyid Abdul Jabbar Ghaznavi. And we should say that when his father established a mosque, later that mosque was turned into the first madrasa in the name of Darul Uloom, Madrasa Ghaznaviya, where Sayyid Abdullah Ghaznavi started to teach, and then Abdul Jabbar Ghaznavi until his death in 1913. Abdul Jabbar Ghaznavi, he got his two uncles, Abdul Wahid Ghaznavi and his other brother, Abdul Rahim Ghaznavi. And these two brothers, Abdul Wahid and Abdul Rahim, they used to travel a lot. In their traveling, in their business traveling, they went to Kuwait. At that time, the family of Ali Saud or Ibn Saud was there. King Abdulaziz was still there in Kuwait before he came to Riyadh, and then he captured it. So when they visited Abdulaziz, he asked them to teach the member of his family. So this is how they remained there for 5 years, teaching them. And this is how these good relations developed among Al Saud and the Ghaznavi family. And later we know in 1926, after Hijaz was captured by Ibn Saud or Abdulaziz Ibn Saud, he invited the people from around the globe to attend an international Islamic conference. So from India, a deputation came, and that was the deputation of Al-Hadith, and it got 4 persons or 4 delegates, and among them was his uncle, Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi's uncle Abdul Wahid, and his son Ismail Ghaznavi as well, with 2 more persons, Maulana Sanaullah of Amritsar and Hafiz Hamidullah of Delhi. So they attended this conference in 1926, and Ibn Saud appointed Ismail Ghaznavi as in charge for the pilgrims, for the welfare of the pilgrims, and that was a post equal to the post of a minister. So this is just to show that how this family got good relations with Ibn Saud right from the beginning. Now we come to Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, who was born on 23rd June 1895 in Amritsar, and he got his education from his father and from the friend of his father, Abdullah Ghazi Puri. And of course, he was, the family was no more in Ghazna, Afghanistan. So from Dawood Ghaznavi, we can say that the family has turned into an Indian family, which was brought up in Punjab. In the life of Dawood Ghaznavi, we notice that he was not just a teacher or a person who is who got his religious duties like an imam and a khatib. He participated in politics as well. So when he has seen that India, which is governed at that time by the English Empire, and there were Indians who got the movement to liberate India at that time. So there was in 1919 a movement known as Khilafat movement, and that was about the Ottoman Empire. These were the last days of Ottoman Empire, as we know that it has come to an end in 1924 on the hands of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. So in the support of Khilafat, the movement started, and Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi at that time, he joined hand with that movement. And in the very same year, in April of 1919, the famous incident of Jallianwala Bagh. Jallianwala Bagh, that was a park with this name, where there were a great gathering of the Indians, including Muslims and non-Muslims, and General Dyer from the English government, he came riding on his horse, and then he ordered to open fire upon all the demonstrators. And that was one of the most brutal incidents in the English history or the Indian history at that time. It is said that Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, he was about to leave with one of his uncles to Jallianwala Bagh as well, and just to buy some pan, as you know that this pan, that leaf which is known as pan, that was very much familiar very much in use with many scholars and many Indians. So Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi and his uncle, they just stopped at a shop to buy some pan, and they have seen General Dyer riding on his horse passing by them towards Jallianwala Bagh. So they stayed for a little bit of time, and when they started moving towards the very same area, General Dyer was coming back after committing that massacre that has taken the life of a great number of people. So now we can see that in the life of Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, there are many points, and we can say that these points, they speak about his political life. In 1921, this organization, which is known as Jamiat Ulama al-Hind, the organizations of the Indian ulama, that was established, and he was among the founders of that organizations. And because he was also a very important or one of the main leaders of Tehreek-e-Khilafat, and he used to be a very good speaker in general public, among the public itself. So this is how, because of his speeches and his movement, he has been imprisoned by the English government for many times. That was the first time in 1921 that he was imprisoned for 3 years in Mianwali. And he came out, but later in 1925, he was imprisoned once again. In 1927, in the Indian history, there is a commission known as Simon Commission. The Indian politicians, they got a boycott at that commission. And Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi was very active in that boycott as well. In 1927, he also started issuing a journal by the name of At-Tawheed that started in 1st April 1927. And this journal, you can say, it got very scholarly type of articles on Tawheed, on Sirat-e-Mustaqim, the straight path of Deen, and many other similar topics. It did not survive more than 3 years because the last issue was published in 1st May in 1929. Then we also see Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi was among the founder of Majlis al-Ahrar, the Ahrar movement in India. He was the first secretary for that Majlis al-Ahrar, which was given a great life by a great other scholars of India, Sayyid Ata'ullah Shah Bukhari. In 1932, there was a movement which is known as Movement of Kashmir, in which he was imprisoned once again. In 1942, he noticed that the Congress, the main Indian organizations, political organizations, which was started by Gandhi, and there used to be figures like Nehru and Patel, and even Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was among them, among the politicians of Congress. So in 1942, Congress has started a movement known as Quit India. So at that time, Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi became a member of Congress as well. And when he was asked that why did he do that, he said that we used to move a lot through different organizations, but they were not so fruitful. And if we join hand with Congress, we could achieve our objective, which we got in front of us. So this is how, when he joined hand with Congress, he got very good relations with Maulana Abul Kalam Azad as well. It is reported that how Maulana Abul Kalam Azad and Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, when they meet each other, they would speak about religious issues and other issues about educations. and the knowledge itself. Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi became the president of Punjab Congress party as well, and he also participated in the election in Punjab Assembly, and he became an MP on behalf of Congress. It means that he was facing at that time his opponents from among Muslim League. There is an interesting note at that time by a Sikh prominent leader, Master Tara Singh. So Master Tara Singh, in a note or sarcastic note, is saying that what we do. There was once Mahmud Ghaznavi who came to India, and he plundered India and went back. And now there is another Ghaznavi, and that is Dawood Ghaznavi, who got the control of Congress in Punjab, and the people are listening to him. It is also said that Maulana Ataullah Shah Bukhari, who was a person of the pulpit, member and mihrab, means he was confined to the mosque. That was Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi who brought him into the politics. And so Maulana Ataullah Shah Bukhari became very, very active with Al-Ahrar movement. Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi remained just 4 years with Congress. In 1946, he resigned from the Congress and he joined hand with Muslim League, and he met Muhammad Ali Jinnah as well. Why did he leave Congress? He said in one of his interviews that we joined hand with Congress for one objective, that we have to liberate India from the English rule, and then there would be a joint rule of Hindus and Muslims together. But later he discovered that what he was thinking is not right. Once the English people have left India, behind them there would be two great nations, Hindus and Muslims. But the Hindus at that time, they were in a great majority, and still they are in great majority. So it means that through democracy, they would never be able to have their proper share in the rule. And when he asked this question, when he put this question to some of his Indian colleagues, that what is going to happen to the Muslims after India is liberated, they said, don't talk about it. Let us expel the English from the country first, and then we would see what we are going to do. And that was not any convincing answer by them. So Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi realized that the intentions by Hindus is not in the favor of any Muslim rule at all. So this is how he joined hand with Muslim League. That was in 1946, just 1 year before the liberation, or you can say before the partition of India into two states. One which is run by Hindus or by the Congress, and the other by Muslim League or by the Muslims. So that was some activities which I was able to pinpoint before the partition. Now, after the partition in 1947, because of all those riots which happened in Punjab, especially in the seat of Sikh in Amritsar, there were so horrible events which happened that Muslims had to leave, whether they liked it or not, Amritsar, and migrate to Lahore and other parts of Pakistan. Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi used to have a great library. it was all plundered by the Sikh attackers. The houses were burned. Even in his madrasa, 2 of his teachers were martyred. The clerk and his wife, they were killed as well by the Sikh. And as we know, even about Maulana Abul Wafa, Sanaullah Amrasri, that his son, he got one son at that time. His son was butchered, massacred by the Sikh at that time. So he has to leave his madrasa and his press as well. So Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi migrated to Lahore. And now we come to some of his activities after the establishment of Pakistan. Right after the liberation or the establishment of Pakistan in 1948, he established Jamiat Al-Hadith Pakistan. And he was the one who has also made a constitution or laid down a constitution for Jamiat Al-Hadith of Pakistan. Here there is another interesting note which comes from his son, Sayyid Abu Bakr Ghaznavi, who asked his father that this type of constitution does not suit a religious organization, because religious organizations, they don't run like the constitutions made on the line of democracy. It is not suitable for a religious organization. So it means that his own son Abu Bakr has pointed out, but because Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi remained in so many political parties, so he wanted a constitution for it as well. And I myself, I could say that what his son Abu Bakr has said was quite true, because normally a religious organizations that is based upon especially upon the people who are committed to the dawah of inviting to Quran and Sunnah. So the only people who can run it, they are the people of knowledge, the people who can spread this knowledge sincerely, and they are supported by the people of wealth, you can say, the merchants, the traders, and other people from the walk of the life, from among solicitors, barristers, judges. Yes, they are going to support them, but the leading role should be among those people who got the knowledge of Quran and Sunnah. And when you come to decide upon a matter, you have to decide it on the basis of Quran and Sunnah, upon the evidence, not on the basis of showing your hands. And this is what is suitable to the religious organizations. But once again, it is very, very sad that our religious organizations, they think that they have to follow the political organizations on these rules which go hand in hand with democracy. We would say that in some worldly matters where you have to decide about any worldly matters, then of course the majority is going to decide. But when it comes to any religious issue, then you have to decide it upon the basis of the evidence, not of show hands at all. Moving from 1948, we come to the movement of the finality of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in 1953. That was a great movement in Pakistan in which many religious figures were imprisoned by the government, including Sayyid Abul Ala al-Maududi and also Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi. And we see that Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, when he was taken to the court, there has been a dialogue between him and Justice Munir, the judge at that time. So Justice Munir, as a judge, he asked him the first questions that your grandfather and your father were expelled from Afghanistan because they were Ahlul Hadith. Is it not the case? And Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi replied, no, that was not the case. The ruler at that time thought that Sayyid Abdullah Ghaznavi has become so popular among the people that if he remains there, then his rule is going to come to an end. That was the reason. Then he turned to the second question. Do you believe that to say, Ya Abdul Qadir Jilani Shay'an Lillah, is it a form of shirk? So Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi replied, it depends upon the intention of the person, that actually he is invoking the name of Abdul Qadir Jilani for help or not. For example, you, Justice Munir, you have said these words just now, and it depends upon your intention. Your intention is not to invoke the name of Abdul Qadir Jilani to ask for help. So it depends upon the ikhtilaf of niyyah. What is your niyyah and what is your intention? Then he turned to the third question and he said that, are your Imam is Abdul Wahhab? And he said, no, my Imam is not Abdul Wahhab at all. And he insisted, no, you people, you always refer yourself to Abdul Wahhab. So you are the follower of Abdul Wahhab. He said, no. And then Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi said to him, do you mean Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab? And then he said, yes, I mean Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. And it does not make any difference. Justice Munir said, and Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi said, how you could say that it does not make a difference? Son is son and father is father. So why do you say that you attribute yourself to Abdul Wahhab? So the other judge who was listening to him, and he was the judge Kiani, he said, after listening to Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi, and you are such a eloquent speaker and speaking with evidence, that I could say that to me you are one of the most skillful solicitor, because Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi did not bring a solicitor for him to solicit for him. He was soliciting for himself. We move forward that in 1954, when the King Saud came to visit the country, Pakistan, so Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi went to Karachi to receive him. And when the king came to Lahore, he was among the dignitaries to be there to receive him as well. In 1955, a great Islamic institution by the name of Jamia Salafiyah was to be established. So Jamiat al-Hadith, they decided to establish this Jamia, or that Jamia, in Lailpur, which is now known as Faisalabad. The committee which decided this matter, it was headed by the uncle of Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, who is Ismail Ghaznavi. And this name, Salafiyah, was suggested by another Shaykh, Maulana Hanif al-Nadawi, that it should be named as Jamia Salafiyah. So Dawood Ghaznavi, at that time, he was the head of this committee as well to establish Jamia Salafiyah. But in 1967, another sad move is witnessed when there was a meeting about the same issue, and Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, because of his illness, he asked permission to leave, and the other scholars, they kept on doing their duty, carrying on with the committee's running. And during his absence, they said that because Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi is ill, we should replace him with someone else. And that was one of a prominent, once again, a wealthy person from Punjab. And he was known to be among any businessmen, you can say a businessman from Punjab. Maulana Fadl Haq, he's known as Fadl Haq, Maulana Fadl Haq. And he was taken, or he was appointed as the chair of that committee. Of course, the next day when Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi knew about it, he was not happy, and he spoke to Maulana Ismail of Gujranwala about this matter, that I was not dead, I was alive. You could have asked me about this move. Anyhow, Maulana Ismail did not reply to what he said. He listened to it. But what I wanted to point out, that this was not a very good move, just to vote out a person in his absence without giving him any chance to defend himself. And this also shows that in our religious organizations, this type of policies which are adopted by them to admit someone in the committee or to vote out someone from the committee on the political lines is not a recommended act at all. They should have try to find out a way according to our Salaf, how they used to do in such a matter. They have to discuss about it. They have to see the pros and cons of each issue, and then they have to take any decision. In 1960, there was that was the time when President Ayub Khan was ruling in Pakistan, and he wanted to establish a constitution. And he asked scholars as well to give their opinion. So there were 19 ulama or scholars who agreed to reply to that constitution's recommendations. And in that commission, Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, along with Sayyid Abul Ala Maududi, they were given the task to prepare a response to that constitution. Even President Ayub in 1962 came to meet Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi in Lahore, and Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi explained all such points which were debatable. And in the end, when he was asked about this constitution, Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi said that it is neither a democratic constitution nor an Islamic constitution. And it means that he was very brave enough to give his opinion. In May 1962, as we said, that he went to Al-Hijaz, to Saudi Arabia, and he participated in the inauguration ceremony of Islamic University of Medina on 20th Zulhijjah, 1381 of Hijrah, 25th May 1962. And when he came back, his health was not good during all that period. Even he got a heart attack when he was in Medina. And in 1963, he was admitted to the hospital in March, and later on 16th December, Monday, 9:30 in the morning, he passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. His janaza was held in Lahore, Maulana Ismail Afudranwala led the prayer, and he was buried in the famous cemetery of Miani Sahib in Lahore. In the very few minutes which are left, I could say about few more things about Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi. Nobody got any doubt about his maslak, about his manhaj, that he was on the manhaj of Tawheed and Sunnah. And he got some element of tasawwuf as well. But this tasawwuf, according to him, that is the same thing which is known as ihsan in the hadith of Jibreel, when he came to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he was asking questions like, what is Islam, what is Iman, what is ihsan? So according to Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, this ihsan, that is to be very perfect in your ibadah, in your devotion, that is a tasawwuf. Though he also gave oath of allegiance or bay'ah in one of the tariqah, which is known as tariqah Naqshbandiyya. That was right from the beginning when Maulana Abdullah Ghaznavi, he also participated in taking this bay'ah in the tariqah of Naqshbandiyya. But anyhow, Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi is very clear about that it is just to make your form of worship very perfect. We are not concerned about kayfiyat and kashf, which is a feature of tasawwuf. And he says that if a person lags behind in obeying sunnah, in ittiba'u sunnah, then we have to leave such type of kafiyat and such type of kashf. And he also said that Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, were not in any need of such type of terminology which we find in Tasawwuf, because they got the company of the Prophet ﷺ. But the people later, as they got a terminology in Arabic language and also a terminology in fiqh, in the same way, just to find out how to practice ihsan, Sufia have introduced some terminology as well. So that was of course his manhaj, which we can say that he was on the right path of Kitab Sunnah, though for this purpose of the purification of the soul, he has adopted this way of Naqshbandiyya. And the main thing was that zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that should be dominant in the life of a Muslim. And Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi is known with his efforts of the refutations of Al-Qadiyaniyya, and that was a great movement during that time, and he has written articles about it. He was also very firm in saying what is truth, and I can mention here his refutations upon the Imam of Badshahi Masjid in Lahore, Shaykh Ghulam Murshid, because he has written in one of his articles, or he has said it is one of his speeches, that instead of slaughtering so many animals on the Eid day, Eid al-Adha day, why not this money is given to the poor to satisfy their needs? So Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi wrote a very comprehensive article refuting this saying. And interestingly, what happened, that a great politician who is known to be Abdurrab Nishtar died, and Maulana Ghulam Murshid led the Salatul Ghaib upon him, which means Salah upon a person who died somewhere and he is not in front of you in the prayer. So you pray Salatul Ghaib upon him. So someone asked him this question, and I think that is Maulana Ishaq Bhatti, Bhatti, who asked this question to Maulana Ghulam Murshid, that you people, you say that we follow the fiqh of Hanafiya, fiqh al-Ahnaf, and according to fiqh al-Ahnaf, Salatul Ghaib upon a janazah is not allowed. So how did you do that? And Ghulam Murshid, Shaykh Ghulam Murshid got no answer to that question. But Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi was there. He said that this salah is of two types. That is, one is a political janazah and the other is a religious janazah. So the one which is done by Maulana Ghulam Murshid, that was a political janazah, nothing else. And I wanted to mention so many things about Maulana Dawood Ghaznavi, but I could not realize that the time would not allow me to say all of them. So in the end, I would say that he was following a very moderate maslak during his lifetime. So this is how he got very good relations with other scholars like Maulana Ahmad Ali of Lahore. He is known with his tafsir and with his madrasa. And Maulana Ahmad Ali was so fascinated by him and by his character and by his personality, that he always used to come to pray Salatul Eid behind him each year in Minto Park, Lahore. And in the very same way, in India, once he led Maghrib prayer in a conference. So one of the persons in that conference asked, should we repeat this prayer because it was led by this scholar? So Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi replied to him, there is no difference between us and the Hanafi Maslak or Ahnaf Maslak in that. Why? Because Imam Abu Hanifa was from among Ahlul Hadith. It means that he was not following a certain Imam except our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was from among Ahlul Hadith as well. And we can see that Sayyid Dawood Ghaznavi got good relations with another scholars like Sayyid Abul Hasanat and from among Ahlul Hadith. They were all very near to him, especially the family of Lakvi. Sayyid Muhyiddin Lakvi was very near to him. Anyhow, there are many other things which we can say about him, but because of the time, I had to stop here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala admit him into his Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all his good services towards Al-Islam and towards the Muslim. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum salam, Shaykh. Jazakallah khair for this very enlightening talk, mashallah. Shaykh Walid Basuni is already in the group, so maybe you want to say salam to him first before we start his introduction.
نعم شيخ وليد كيف حالك؟
نعم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله
أهلا الشيخ وليد.
وأنا مبسوط ومسرور بكم. الله يرضى عليكم ويحفظكم وينفع بكم يا رب. جزاكم الله خيرا.
الله يبارك فيك.
الحمد لله. Your family are good. الحمد I'm so happy to see you healthy. الحمد لله. الله يمتعنا بك. الله يمتعنا بك. الله يمتعنا بك يا رب. يديم عليك الصحة والعافية. So such an honor to be listening to you and to your talk about Ghaznavi rahimahullah ta'ala, and alhamdulillah, جزاك الله خيرا. أحييت قلوبنا بذكر الصالحين. جزاك الله خيرا.
الله يبارك فيك.
الله يجعلنا على آثاره.